before document ready. When would you need to or want to do something before document ready?
When you're not interacting with the DOM.
Yeah, sure. When you're not interacting with the DOM. Yeah. Like if you have, if you need to fire off an AJAX call, like as soon as that page loads, right? You might want to get it started immediately, right? You might not want to wait until the document's ready. You might want to put jQuery in the head and have your AJAX functions in the head too, and get started on those while the browser's rendering the rest of your page, right? And you can get the response, and then like in your callback for your AJAX, and we'll look at this next week, but in the callback, you could have the document ready in there. If the document is already ready when you call document ready, it'll fire it immediately. So yeah, so it's nice that way. You don't have to worry about it. Like as opposed to like window on load, right? If you miss the load event for window, you're screwed, right? It's like, oh, well, it already loaded, so I'm binding something to the window load event, and it'll never happen. So, OK.
With images.
What's that?
You can run into that with images.
Yeah, you can run into a lot of problems with images. That's a real pain. Yeah. Yeah, actually, buy my book. I'm teasing. But we actually wrote an AJAX transport for images that deals with some of these issues, like with like when the image returns a 404, or like in Internet Explorer when when it's cached, it won't fire the load event, the unload event for the image, but it'll give it the complete property. And so you look for that, and there are all sorts of weirdo edge cases. So yeah. So before document ready, when what you're doing doesn't have to do with the DOM, or when something needs to be styled or hidden or something immediately, right? And I'll show you. When you need to avoid the dreaded flash of unstyled content. You know what that's like? You ever do that? Like where you want, like you have this awesome tab structure, user interface, right? But it takes a while for your page to load, and so it looks like crap for about a half a second before it all kind of snaps into place. Yeah, yeah. So here's what you can do. Put this in the head. Document.document element. That's your HTML tag, right? Class name equals JS. That's all you have to do, right? So what that allows you to do is in your, tell you what, I'll make a scratch.css too. OK. So it allows you to do something like this. Like I have my tab panels, right? And they are position relative. But if the user has JavaScript enabled, then tab panels are position absolute, right? Because you're giving that HTML element a class of JS, and now tab panels will be a descendant of that. And so it'll just magically work. And it'll work like immediately because it's already set before the body is rendered, right? And the CSS is already parsed, and so you're all good to go. It's cool, right? I mean, this is even like for this, it's it's whatever, it's okay. Like you could maybe do it without this, and then it would just look ugly if somebody didn't have JavaScript. And that's a choice you're going to have to make. But I would say that if you're working on a public site and you can't control whether people have JavaScript, you should never ever ever hide content from them through CSS and require them to have JavaScript in order to see that content. I think that's unfair and immoral. Yeah, so you could do this. You could say tab panels display block. I'm just making this up, but display hidden, right? So now, again, it will be hidden immediately, and you won't get that flash of unstyled content, but it'll only be hidden if people have JavaScript enabled, because that's how the class name is being added. It's being added with JavaScript, right? And so presumably at some point, based on some user interaction or whatever, it will give them, it'll change the display of the tab panels, at some later time. So, all right. So, okay, yeah, so this is another wrinkle in the whole thing on, whether to put things in the head or the body or whatever, how to load these scripts. And really what we're talking about now is performance, website performance, right? And there are a number of script loaders that try to do things in as fast a way possible and asynchronously, so it won't block other things from occurring when you load them. So I'm not going to get into this too much or at all today, but there's a really good response that Alex Sexton wrote to a question: what are the use cases for, I would say, the top 3 script loaders, or my favorite 3? Require.js, Yep Nope, or Lab.js. And he talks about that. They all have their advantages. They all have their use cases. None is like this is so much better than the other ones. It's for different needs. Okay, so check it out if you're interested in that sort of thing.